I'm John Hinkle, the senior pastor of First Presbyterian Church here in downtown Murfreesboro on the corner of College and Spring. This is your Saturday morning preview of Sunday morning sermon, and it is clear. I forgot to do this Friday. It is Saturday morning. I don't know. It's Saturday morning sometime, like 7:35, something like that. So what in the world is John Hinkle doing? Clearly, I'm doing the Saturday morning preview of Sunday morning sermon. I'm also meeting somebody for coffee at 8, going over my sermon. Leila and I will have our Costco date. That's where I fill up her car with gas and then we go into Costco. As my good friend Will Fraley says, we go into Costco just looking to buy some toilet paper, and we end up spending over $1,000. No, I'm kidding, but you know what I mean if you're part of the Costco family. That being said, we are still in our series of sermons on the life of King David. Actually, we only have 2 more sermons to go. And this is that moment where there is such a paradigm shift, and it's a cautionary moment, and it's a cautionary tale. And we'll get to that in a second. But I want to remind you how we started out this series of sermons, and that was with how God has tried to reconcile humanity to himself. We talked about God tried to do this through the covenant. First covenant God makes with Abraham. God tried to do this with the law. And then once into the promised land, God tried to do this with judges. And the people weren't satisfied. And remember what the people said they wanted? They wanted the king. They said, we want to be like the other nations. And Samuel warns them. First of all, first and foremost, you have a king. It is God. But then he warns them, if you really want to be like the other nations, you just need to understand what that's going to look like. And he lays it out. He lays it out. And what he lays out before them is that when you have a king, the king is sovereign. You have no voice anymore. If the king says it, you do it. And the king speaks for God. That's how they saw it in the world. Or the gods, depending on what kingdom you belong to, right? Samuel lets them know this is not a possibility. This is what will happen. So far in our story about David, we've been able to reflect on David's good qualities, his bravery, we've been able to see how David was a man after God's own heart. And we talked about what that actually means. It means that David, no matter how imperfect, was always seeking or what God wanted for his life. But in our text tomorrow morning, that is thrown out the window. And the story starts off with these words. In a time when kings go off to war in the spring, David remained in Jerusalem. Never has there been a more foreshadowing statement that should cause us to pause and maybe even shudder a little bit. And it's the statement that the old rabbi writes before he tells the story of David and Bathsheba. And it's not an easy story to tell. It's a hard story to tell because it exposes the depravity of somebody we've been called to admire. And it's one of those things I was thinking about this week. It's not in my sermon, but this is what happens when we put people on a pedestal. The pedestal falls and our heroes fall, and we cancel them. And I don't want to cancel David. Say that 9 times fast. But I do want us to be honest in our observation of what we see in the life of David. And we're going to do that. But I'm also coming at this sermon at a different angle than what I would have done when I first started ministry 31 years ago. And I actually have an apology in my sermon. I'm actually apologizing in my sermon. And you'll come Sunday or watch it on YouTube to hear what that apology is. So that's where we are. We are going to be exploring this moment in the life of King David and in the life of one of David's servants, because I don't care who you are. When you have a king, you're a servant. And the servant in this case is Bathsheba. That's it. That is our Saturday morning preview of Sunday morning sermon. Shout out to Lana and Jim Lemons. They are celebrating, I think it's their 60th anniversary. They're going to have 16 people in church, something like that. Astronomical number of people in church. They asked if it'd be okay to reserve a pew. I said, you bring 16 people, I'll reserve a pew for you. I should have asked, are they going to plan to put money in the offering plate? No, I'm kidding. What a great celebration. Congratulations to them both. That is wonderful. That's it. So, hey, shout out to the super fans. Savannah, you looked wonderful sitting up front with your sister Ella. William, and you looked okay sitting in the very back, but your daughter sat up front. Barry and Melanie, Marcy Richmond, Glenn Emery, and my new super fan, my cousin Pippa. So what in the world is John Hinkle doing? I'm about to end this and go have some coffee. Y'all have a great day.